Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to Mrs. Dolzig's classroom workshop today. And I have my helpers again with me today, and we are going to read you a story. And then after this story, we're going to talk about something important, and then we're going to give you a task or a job, something you can try at home. All right, so our story today is called Rosie Revere, Engineer by Andrea Beaty. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never been seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one side and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. I love it, Fred hooted. Oh, truly I do. But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt, Rose, was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams. That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, no, not I. But questions are tricky and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. Oh, her ideas are coming back to her. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer. Don't give up. She turned round to leave, but then great-great-aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close. and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt. It crashed. That is true. But first, it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. The end. Well, that's a great story, and I hope that will inspire you today, and I hope this will inspire you that, remember, the most important thing is not to quit. Everything you try, will it always work out the first time? No, but it's so important that you persevere and you keep trying. Stay determined. We wanted to talk a little bit before we gave you some ideas about an engineer. An engineer is someone who, and we're going to talk because if you notice it's boys and girls. An engineer is someone who observes and wonders. Raise your hand if you like to observe and wonder. Someone who shares their curiosity. Are you always sharing things, asking? Uses tools to solve problems. Constructs inventions. Explores the world around them. Asks questions. Discovers and creates new things. So these are the same questions, just in a different order. But those are some of the things that an engineer does. Parts of an engineer. Let's see if you have these parts. Do you have a curious and creative mind? What do you think? I know you do. Do you have observing eyes? You try to inquire and observe? I bet. Do you have a careful hands for constructing your inventions and writing your plans? Do you have listening ears to listen to ideas of others? That one's sometimes a little tricky. Sharing mouth to share your ideas and help solve problems. And quick feet to discover and explore the world. Do you have all those parts on your body? Yes. I bet you do. Well, engineers ask these 3 questions. 1, what is the problem that needs to be solved? Rosie knew her great Aunt Rose wanted to fly. So that was the problem that needed to be solved. Who has that problem that needs to be solved? Who had that problem? Her great Aunt Rose. 3, why is this problem so important to solve? Why was it so important to solve that problem for her great aunt? Because she was getting older and that was the last thing on her list. So engineers ask these 3 questions. So I want you to remember, what is the problem that needs to be solved? Who has the problem that needs to be solved? And 3, why is the problem so important to solve? So then you're going to come up with some ideas and try to solve this. I'm going to show you some things because we're all at home with limited supplies that just like Rosie, she dug through her trash and she created magnificent things. we dug through our trash and found some things that we thought we might be able to use today to try out our hand in engineering, inventing something. We have a tomato container. We had some sprinkles left over from our Easter cake and on his birthday. We have some little pieces of wood. Ooh, Easter eggs. We have some plastic spoons. We had an empty jar of vitamins. We have more spoons. A wine cork, rubber bands, bread ties, a little umbrella, a jar of jam emptied out, an empty bottle of medicine, another wine cork. We have those little coffee pods, if you have empty coffee pods. Ooh, look at all these straws, the bendy kind of plain. We have an empty box from our butter, an empty box from our cardboard, twist ties. We were dyeing some eggs and whoops, we had the leftover little egg scooper, and my daughters ate a little chocolate that had a little handle. So they said, don't throw these things out, we might need them. So what I'm going to challenge you is to empty out some items from your garbage. See if you can create something new out of them. We'll talk a little bit more about the different types of things, but right now I want to see if you can create something new. Don't forget to ask your 3 questions. So, what is the problem that needs to be solved? Who needs it solved? And why is it so important? I'm asking you to solve it because I believe in you and I want you to be successful and I want you to use your mind. So I'm going to give the girls just a few seconds. They're going to come up, look with the materials that they have, and then maybe they're going to talk to me a little bit about what their plan might be. And I'm going to give them a few seconds, and they're going to get busy, and we'll see if they come up with something to share with us. What are you looking for, Anna?
I'm going to make a table with the umbrellas.
Oh, okay. All right, there's some stuff in here. All right, do you have an idea for it? All right, look at them. They're getting ready to work. Like I said, creative minds, always wondering. And remember, if it doesn't work the first time, is that okay? Yes. Should you keep going? Yes. All right. And if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So Chloe looks like she is trying something out with an egg carton, little plastic egg and a straw. All right, can you reach in there and try to grab it out? All right, Anna, oops. You might need to poke it through there. All right, so remember as you're watching and try your, oh, there we go. Try our best. We might need to cut it a little bit to see if you can still get the air. So you'll have to test and try. What do you need? A hole? You might need to use some scissors. Use some scissors. Alright. There we go. Oops. That popped it up. Okay, we can get through on the other side. There we go. Where you put that in there? Oh, that'll help hold it. Oh, you forgot to take that. Okay, there you go. Try it.
I'm going to probably do these.
Yeah.
Hey, I think I have an idea.
Let's see. Whoa! Did you see that? Chloe just made her very own poppet or whistleblower. Watch. A little more. Woo! All right, Anna, what do you got?
I got a table.
She engineered a new table. All right, everybody, we hope you feel inspired. Empty out that trash and share with us what you created. Remember, don't give up. Keep trying. Stay determined. Persevere. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.